to join Team Tulsi, and in my opinion, one of the most amazing, inspiring, unique, and badass candidates to ever run for the White House. My name is Eric Jackman, and I'm 33 years old, and this is my 6th New Hampshire primary. So I've met them all. I started 4th, 5th grade. I was engaged during the 2000 primary, and I've met them all since. And you know, here in New Hampshire, we know when we smell manure. You smell it and spot it a mile away. I first met Tulsi in late 2018, December of 2018, when she was up in an event in Exeter. There was a big Patriots game that day. I said, Tom Brady, you're taking second string to Tulsi Gabbard today. And I haven't regretted it since. I'll be right to the point. Tulsi Gabbard has unbelievable experience. Some people say, oh, millennial, 38 years old, what has she done? How much has she accomplished in her life? It's like, try and find someone else who's under 40, who's had the life experience, has done the things that Tulsi Gabbard has done, has taken the hard stand on serious things that most people would never do, would never touch, would never go near. Starting out on Honolulu City Council, working with those local issues. I know we got another guy who's running, he's a mayor or something, he's worked with city councils before, he's a big impressive guy. Real impressed by him. City Council, and then elected the youngest member of the Hawaii House of Representatives. Into that, gave that up, left office to deploy to Iraq with her unit. Unbelievable. Came back, gained incredible real life and death experience in Iraq, serving in a medical unit. Every day going through a list of people who were wounded, who were killed, people she's working with every day, people she trained with. Very real thing, the cost of war for Tulsi Gabbard. Unlike some people who vote on it, they have a vote, it's theoretical, they'll never really experience it. Tulsi experienced it, she lived it, which is what informs her views and why she is the way she is. Runs for Congress in 2012, elected 31 years old, already has all this amazing experience. Breath of fresh air. We've probably heard the toffee story. She helped bridge the gap and bring colleagues together in Congress by offering up some food. Now, if she was doing that, look at me, I'd be running for the food. But Tulsi is a breath of fresh air. She's willing to work with those that they don't agree with on everything. And you know what? That is a mirror to our lives as regular Americans. We have to work with people every day that we don't agree with stuff. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to get through our days. For some reason, that paralysis is allowed to happen in Washington. And if you go against it, you're looked at as an oddity or something weird, when it's not. So I'm confident on day one, Tulsi Gabbard can walk into that White House and not only be in charge of the nuclear triad, which if I remember correctly, Trump didn't even know what that was. I'm not sure what that was. I don't know what the triad is. Is it the name of some kind of gang or something? I don't know. Never heard of it. Sorry, he's down the road. I had to mention him. Tulsi can take care of our armed forces, take control. She knows how it works. Being in Congress for almost 8 years now, Armed Services Committee, dealing with the defense budget. I mean, come on, running the budget in your household, that is like, whoa, how am I going to make it this month? Imagine working for defense appropriations and figuring out spending for this base, funding for troops here, X, Y, and Z. These are all things that we need our president to know about, at least have a basic understanding. Tulsi's an expert in all these fields. So it's without reservation that I will tell all of you, and I've told everybody in my network this last 13 months here in New Hampshire, Tulsi Gabbard is the most qualified candidate in this race on foreign policy, on bringing people together, and working with people for solutions, not crying with your hair on fire, going into a corner saying, I don't believe what they believe, we're not going to work together. Where does that get us? It gets us where we've been. So experience, and you know what, another thing I want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard? Courage. Yeah. Courage. Woo! Donald Trump talked about locking Hillary up and holding the Clintons to account, and then the election happened. He said, oh, that's the thing that I said we were going to do. It was fun. We had fun with it. But we're not going to do it. What does Tulsi Gabbard do when she's smeared by Hillary Clinton and called a Russian asset? She sues her and makes her accountable. You don't do that. You don't smear a combat veteran running for president. So she stands up for what she believes in. She's courageous, she's brilliant, she's measured, she's composed, and she never does anything in half measure. So I'm honored to be here tonight. I appreciate you all coming out. I want to turn it over to my co-host for kind of doing the lethal weapon thing here. Riggs and Word Talk.
Guess which one I am?
He's the host of Mi Casa Su Casa, Mr. Nico House.
What's up, man? Give me something, man. We're coming out here in this cold-ass weather. Y'all know I'm from Miami. Did y'all know that? It's 80 degrees right now. So if I'm out here for Tulsi Gabbard, you know she must be the one. First of all, let me just say thank you all so much for being so engaged, because that is a challenge. It's very exhausting, especially in today's political climate. Now, in the spirit of that, I do have a question, though. How many of you are undecided? Oh, you know, this is not that many here. This is like y'all pretty committed to Tulsi. Okay, good stuff. How many of you are only undecided because you're worried that, I don't know, literally every mainstream media, DNC, every billionaire is going to stop Tulsi Gabbard from having even a puncher's chance of the nomination? Be honest. Thank you. I appreciate your honesty. See, here's the problem with that. Do y'all know that Tulsi needs one delegate to be on that debate stage? Do you know that Tulsi has been raising what? About an average of about $3 million a month. In other words, her party's just getting started. They spend $14, $15, $16 million a month only to get 4th place in Iowa. Ooh, I did that. Oh, but Tulsi's party's just getting started. Woo! Now, the reality of the situation is, ladies and gentlemen, that you have a race in front of you. Think of it like a job interview. Imagine you're going to apply to be a nuclear engineer. And they said, we got 2 job requirements. Now, one of these job requirements, about 70% of the jobs, you need to be really good at this. We need you to literally, understand nuclear engineering, but be proficient in Microsoft Word also, because you got to do some stuff on Microsoft Word. And you walk into that job interview like, hey, here for the interview, I'm really good at Microsoft Word. Well, how are you in your, how proficient are you in nuclear engineering? Well, I took, freshman physics once. Would you get that job? So why is it that right now in this 2020 race that we are legitimately considering a plethora of candidates who have this much foreign policy experience for a commander-in-chief that has this much influence over foreign policy? There is no one, and I mean nobody, that has as much foreign policy experience than Tulsi Gabbard. And that is a fact.
Tulsi.
These are facts. These are facts. I'm not gonna lie to you. The mainstream media gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you today. See, the thing that scares the hell out of them is that they can't control Tulsi. The thing that scares the hell out of them is that the people they have the same amount of disdain for as you and I. Those people, I'm going to say their names. If her name was Hillary Clinton, I wouldn't even say it because that's inappropriate. She don't say what we all feel. She don't say what we all feel. But we don't have the platform. And I don't have I got a lot of cats, but I ain't got their lives. You feel me? They gonna say what we all feel, and that terrifies them. It does. But you know what? They manufacture these narratives about her. They slander her. They smear her. A veteran like you or I. An aspiring politician like you or I. Someone that has evolved like you or I.
Truth to power.
Truth to power. Amen. But I got some news. Matter of fact, hold up. AJ, you live streaming right now? America, I need you to look at me. Tulsi Gabbard ain't scared of you, America. You hear me? Tulsi Gabbard ain't scared of you, America. You can lie, you can cheat, you can rig. Tulsi Gabbard ain't scared of you. You know why? Because she's not afraid to tell you, no, I have always been right, but I'm evolving and I'm trying to be. Because she understands that those experiences, being wrong, learning, growing, that adversity has made her the well-rounded person she is today. They all tell you, oh, I've been perfect my whole life. Well, I don't want you then. Because you're not equipped to run this country if you can't learn and grow. Because we learn something new every day. 2016 to 2020, we've learned a whole lot of new stuff. But see, they'll tell you they've been perfect. And Tulsi says, no, I'm not perfect. But I'm trying to grow with you. Can you grow with me? So I got some news for you, America. Tulsi Gabbard is not scared of you. Because when it's time to meet with world leaders, we want to call them all kinds of names because it's cool, right? It sounds really good on TV to demonize the people. Then when you get in office, hey, I know I said all those things, but I was just playing. Nah, Tulsi Gabbard isn't scared of Assad. She's not scared of Putin. She's not scared of whoever she has to meet with. If it means bringing peace to that region and bringing peace to the world, because just like your child is able to sleep soundly at night without worrying about a single bomb being dropped on their head, she wants every child to be able to go to sleep with that amount of peace. So when I say Tulsi Gabbard ain't scared of you, I mean that, America. See, Tulsi Gabbard ain't scared of you. And I know for a fact, on Tuesday night, New Hampshire gonna show you they ain't scared of you either. Now, I would like to introduce our future president of the United States of America, Tulsi Gabbard.
Just a few hours, the time has come. Where's Eric? Where are the first votes cast in New Hampshire?
Dixville Notch.
Dixville Notch. At what time?
Midnight.
At midnight. It is time. It is time for your voices to be heard. We've been campaigning here in New Hampshire for a little over a year. It's been a tremendous and amazing experience. Being able to get across your beautiful state, being able to have the privilege of meeting so many people from so many different backgrounds, all finding one sense of unity. I think it's that same sense of unity and spirit that brings us here tonight. That we are here because we love our country. We are here because we're concerned about where we are as a nation today. We are heartbroken about how divided our country has become. And we want to do something about it, right? We want to do something about it. And this is the beautiful thing about the opportunity that we have before us all, about the choice that every one of you as voters has before you, is that for all of the things that you are frustrated about, all of the things that you are sad about, all of the things that make you angry, that make you feel like there is no hope, you can change that. You can change that. And it starts tonight at midnight. Enough of pointing fingers to the left or to the right, or sitting at home on the couch being like, man, this sucks. I wish somebody would do something about this, right? No more. No more. Now is the time for the voices of the American people to be heard. That our government in Washington, it belongs to us. It belongs to us. That the words that our founders chose to begin our Constitution with We the people. That means something. It is a call to action to every single one of us as Americans to remember that the power in this country lies within our hands. That it is we the people who choose to ensure our government is not of, by, and for the powerful elite, those in Washington who believe they have the power, who've made money, who gain influence, who further their own selfish interests at the expense of the American people, and stand here on television trying to tell you who's going to win this election, who you all are going to vote for, as though they have any insight into your heart, into the challenges and the struggles that your families are going through, into the pain that we feel in this country as we are being torn apart, treating our lives
Thank you.
as though it's a big game. I get asked sometimes, in a little bit of a jest, I think, especially on a very, very cold and snowy day here in New Hampshire, by some local New Hampshire residents saying, Tulsi, why are you here? Why aren't you in Hawaii? Why aren't you surfing in the sunshine? And my answer is always the same. I tell them I'm here because I love my country. And I care very much for our future. And because this is not a game. This is not a game. Our lives are what is at stake in so many ways. You heard Eric and Nico talk a little bit about the responsibility of the commander-in-chief. And I hope for those in the room who may still be undecided tonight, who may still be thinking through very seriously this decision you have before you, and I respect how New Hampshire voters across the state do take your responsibility very seriously. But I hope you really think about who you want in the Oval Office to make decisions that impact the lives of our brothers and sisters and our sons and daughters who serve in harm's way today. Those who, like so many, raise their hands and volunteer to say, if my nation needs me, I will lay my life down for her. It's a rare quality. The sacrifices that they are willing to make, the sacrifices that their loved ones make. This is not a game. This isn't about politics as usual. This isn't about who is more charismatic on a debate stage. This is not about who can deliver the best zinger and make the headlines. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm sorry, but I'm serious here. I'm sorry, but this is real. This is real, and I ain't messing around. We just lost 2 more soldiers in Afghanistan. I don't know them personally. I don't know their families. But I know and understand their pain. They deserve a commander-in-chief who honors their sacrifice. You deserve a commander-in-chief that gives you the peace of mind in knowing that they understand the cost of war and who pays the price, and has the strength and courage to make the best decisions that ensure our country's national security, that preserve the safety, security, and freedom of the American people, decisions to know when and where we do need to send our troops into harm's way to be able to preserve that security, and to be able to make those decisions to know when that is not the right answer. To be able to lead and exercise the kind of diplomacy necessary to ensure that war is a last resort. To have the courage to meet with world leaders, even if they may be adversaries or controversial or dictators, in the pursuit of peace and national security, and to ensure that we are not needlessly dishonoring, we are not needlessly putting our troops into harm's way to fight in wars that do not make us any safer. This is about honoring our nation and our Constitution. This is about providing the leadership that every one of you deserves. Leadership that represents these soldiers' values. Leadership that represents the principles of respect and honor and integrity and service. Service to every one of you. Service to our country. Ensuring that our White House can be the beacon of light. The beacon of light for every single American. Shining, representing that opportunity, that dignity, that equality for all Americans. There's a lot at stake. A big question on a lot of people's minds is, all right, so who can actually stand up to Trump? Right? Who can stand up to Trump? I've proven that I can. During my deployment, I've served in the Army National Guard for almost 17 years. Deployed twice to the Middle East, and in that first deployment, I served in a medical unit where both I and all of us there knew that every day there was a possibility that death could come at any moment. There was a big sign at one of the gates to our camp that read in big block letters, "Is today the day?" Just in case anyone got complacent about where we were and what was going on. It was an ever-present reminder that death could come at any moment. I don't fear anything about Donald Trump. I'm not focused on him, to be quite honest. I'm focused on you. I'm focused on the leadership that we can bring, the change we can bring together. Understanding that whether we're Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, when we come together, motivated by this common love we have for our country and this appreciation for our Constitution, that even as we have different ideas, even as there are things we may agree on or disagree on, when we stand united, we can accomplish anything. We can accomplish anything. We can overcome the obstacles placed before us. This is the power in our hands. This is the answer to the great challenges that we seek. This is the standard that we need to apply to all leaders in Washington, that we put country first here. We check the partisanship at the door. This does not mean you give up your principles or your ideas. This means we come together and share those ideas. We bring maybe a different perspective that others hadn't considered before. And we make those decisions about how we put one foot in front of the other and make progress towards that bright future for all Americans together. And I want to illustrate how this is possible, that these are not just empty words, and that this change is something that we're already bringing about in our campaign. And I want you to help me out by doing this here. Raise your hand if you are a Democrat. All right, thank you. Raise your hand if you're Republican. All right, thank you. Raise your hand if you are independent or libertarian. Thank you.
I'm a Tulsi crack.
This right here, and I hope you had a chance to look around the room a little bit, but this right here is the representation of the kind of coalition necessary to both win in November, to beat Trump in November, and most importantly, to be able to begin to heal the divides in this country and let us all get to work together. And this matters. Why does this matter? It matters for two really important reasons. First of all, your president needs to be able to work with Congress. That as you hear many of the plans and ideas and promises from many different presidential candidates, unless you're able to actually pass legislation by working not only with members of the opposite party, but members of your own party as well, you're not going to be able to get those changes implemented. You're not going to be able to get that legislation passed. So I've got experience in doing this because my first 6 years in Congress as a Democrat was under a Republican majority. But at a very practical level, figure out how you establish relationships. You treat people with respect. You build those relationships where even as you may strongly disagree, maybe on one issue, maybe on 9.5 issues, there's always that one space, at least that one area where you can find common ground and you can actually get things done. This experience matters. The second reason why this is important, why all of you represent the hope for our country and our future, is it is the answer to the warning that Abraham Lincoln shared with us almost 162 years ago, at a highly divisive time in our nation's history, when he said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." A house divided against itself cannot stand. This gathering here is reflective of the gatherings and the town halls and the rallies that we've had every single day throughout this campaign, where we are coming together as Americans, regardless of party affiliation or what cable news show you choose to watch or who you voted for or who you voted against. All that stuff stays out the door. Because we are gathering here recognizing that a house divided against itself cannot stand, and we are unwilling to let this nation fail. We are unwilling to let our house fall apart. And if you look back at that speech that Abraham Lincoln delivered, the way he chose to close that speech was he said, "We shall not fail. If we stand fast, we shall not fail." This is a challenge and an opportunity that's being delivered to all of us here. And uniquely, you as New Hampshire voters have the opportunity to share this very same message to Washington and to this nation, that we shall not fail because we stand fast and we stand united for each other, for our country, and for our future. There's a lot at stake. This is not a game. This is about our lives. It's not about me. It's not about what job I might get in the future. It's not about any of that. It's about you. It's about your loved ones. It's about your community, your families. It's about our future together. I invite you to stand with me, and I invite you to join me in this election. If you have had enough of politicians in Washington who say one thing and do another, if you have had enough of politicians talking at you instead of listening to you, if you have had enough of leaders in Washington who play games with our lives to serve their own greed or selfish interest, if you have had enough of leaders who take lightly the sacrifices our men and women in uniform make for this country, then I invite you to stand with me. Vote for me tomorrow, and let us begin to do the work necessary for our country. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Guys, you've been amazing. Aloha. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll have some time for some questions and answers. All right, we got a couple of microphones. Here we go. We got one here in the middle. Yes, sir. We'll start with you. Yes. Just wait for the mic there.
Aloha,
Aloha.
sister.
Talofa lava. What you know about Samoa?
I was just in Northern Apia.
Oh wow. Awesome.
We came from all the way from Kapolei to carry a message and a salute from all the veterans that we work with that represent this big lake called the Pacific, where many of our brothers and sisters who serve at many times the national average per capita and volunteer for hazardous duty. We all want to jump on airplanes, and we all want to be Marines, and we all want to be in harm's way for our country because of a saying that I would like to say in Samoan first. O le labi tiga, o le iwi, Mariano. Those who rally in my hour of need are my king. We traveled all the way to the Granite State, a small state like many of the islands in the Pacific, but one that roars independently like a lion. In every election in the history of this country, from the days this state recruited President Eisenhower while he was on the front, when he was going against the behemoth of President Taft, and he won. And he became our president because New Hampshire told the nation that we stand proud, independent, and strong. And this has happened, as all of you know, about this state many times. This is a state that does not put party before country. And close to the heart of the Sparrow Trooper, this is a state that says, live free or die. So we are really honored to be here. We came all the way because we were dismayed and shocked that CNN and other outlets have blocked this urgent voice of healing in our country. And the very people of this state. A very important state that sends the message to the rest of the country. So if CNN is blocking this urgent voice, and this unique voice that represents thousands and thousands of veterans who volunteered for frontline duty from World War II till today, we carry their salute to you. And we remind you again that we have your six. And we tell you to stay strong like Mauna Kea. The winds will not shake you. That bled with us in the alleyways of Fallujah and Ramadi, in Gardez and Kandahar, to join with us to call an end of this blackout and this urgent voice for our country. Tulsi Tulsi sends you his greetings. and reminds you, good leaders lead, but great leaders heal, sister. All the people who marched with us in that very cold night from downtown to San Jose College, where we stayed vigil to tell CNN that they can't block this voice. They marched behind the colors and sang warm carols of reform, asking for money and corruption to get out of politics.
Ask your Christian.
Thank you, thank you for your aloha and the warmth you gave us and your hospitality during a very cold night.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. Thank you. Yes, just behind you.
Hi, Tulsi. Thank you for running and for your voice. My question is this. Donald Trump left the Syria, and I was wondering how you felt about the way he left it, if you would have left it, and if you would have left the same way.
Thank you for your question. He has not left Syria completely. We still have troops who are deployed there today. When he first announced that he would withdraw our troops from Syria back in December of 2018, I publicly agreed that we needed to bring our troops home, but that it needed to be done in a responsible manner. Unfortunately, the way he chose to execute that was very irresponsible and basically left our Kurdish, Syrian Kurdish partners, who were the most effective fighting force against ISIS in Syria, to Turkey's slaughter. We still have troops deployed to Syria today under Trump's direction to guard and take Syrian oil from the Syrian people, announcing, as Trump did, that, well, you know, Exxon can go in and take that oil, maybe we can make some money off of it, with no regard for the fact that those resources do not belong to us. They belong to the people of that country, people who are struggling and suffering and dying because they can't get access to the energy they need to stay warm during the winter, among many other things. So here's what I would have done differently. The Syrian Kurds for a long time had been trying to conduct negotiations to get security guarantees that would have formed a common front against the Turkish incursion and slaughter that they knew was coming at some point. They knew it was going to happen. The Syrian Kurds knew that they needed to form these partnerships with the Syrian government and other entities within the region in order to protect themselves and their homes. Trump's administration not only did not help that, but actively blocked them from conducting those negotiations, saying, don't worry, we've got your back. Until he didn't. Until he didn't. This is where I would have exercised the foresight in leadership and knowing the environment in Syria, understanding the realities of who is there, the realities that the Syrian Kurds face, with the security concerns as well as the constitutional reforms they are seeking. Because of Trump's immediate moving of our troops away from the northern part of Syria, he prevented the Syrian Kurds from having any leverage whatsoever in those negotiations, where they could have brought about more serious systemic changes that would have given them more equal rights in their own country. Exactly. Basically, welcome to Turkey to come in and kill our Kurdish partners who had done so much to defeat ISIS, turning a blind eye to all that Turkey has done and is continuing to do, both directly and indirectly, supporting the very same terrorist groups that we're trying to defeat there. This issue, like many others, once again points to why it's so necessary to have a commander-in-chief who actually understands these issues, who knows what the right decision to make is for our country, our national security interests, and those who we work with to ensure our national security, and why we cannot afford to have someone elected going into the Oval Office not knowing what they're doing, and instead looking at the foreign policy establishment in Washington saying, okay, tell me what I should do. Tell me what I should do. There was a candidate the other day at the debate who was asked something about whether or not special forces should be left in Afghanistan. And the answer that was given was a little ambiguous. We've been there too long, which I agree. Our troops should not be in Afghanistan. We need to bring them home. So the moderator asked a follow-up, but should special forces remain there? And the response was, well, we need to talk to our allies. What? Special forces are our military. If you don't have the basic understanding of these issues, who is there, what are our capabilities, what are the threats, how can we most effectively take out those threats to our national security without needlessly wasting more American lives, then you shouldn't be Commander-in-Chief.
Tulsi, first and foremost, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you, the Commander-in-Chief has to make many tough decisions. So if elected, would you have ordered the strike to kill Qasem Soleimani, somebody who is responsible for many American service people's deaths?
I would not have made the decision Trump made, and here's why. Here's why. You do not want a commander-in-chief who's going to make emotional decisions about taking out bad guys, even those who have American blood on their hands, without understanding the national security implications and ramifications. You do not want a commander-in-chief who's going to go around the world and look, there's a bad guy, there's a bad guy, there's a bad guy, I'm going to go drone strike them all, without understanding the national security ramifications. Our founders knew how dangerous it would be to place all of the power within the hands of one individual to decide whether or not to go to war with another country. Our founders escaped a monarchy where all of that power was in the hands of one person. And they formed this Constitution to protect our country against that, any one individual having the ability to abuse that power. So they gave it to Congress, the representatives of the people, who would have that responsibility to decide, do we declare war or not? So, if Trump wants to go to war with Iran, he took out Iran's top military general, an act of war, unconstitutional because Congress had not declared war. The administration never came to Congress. There was no proof of an imminent threat that would have required that immediate action that he took. If you want to make the case to go to war, go to Congress. There are two serious ways that Trump's decision, not only to take out Soleimani, but the incremental step-by-step march towards war with Iran that began with his removal from the Iran nuclear agreement, has put us in a worse place. Number one, because Iran is now enriching uranium. They're not complying with this nuclear agreement that was put in place, even with its flaws, to prevent Iran from being able to develop their nuclear weapons capability. That's not in place anymore, and every day that it's not, they are moving closer to being able to develop that capability and increase that threat. Number two, our troops in Iraq, prior to this action by Trump, their mission in Iraq was to prevent a resurgence of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, working with Iraqi partners, even working with some Iranian-backed Shia militia in Iraq, those who fought alongside and with support of US troops to take out ISIS. Our commander there, after they took out Soleimani, said all of our troops in Iraq can no longer focus on preventing a resurgence from ISIS. Their attention, efforts, and resources have to be shifted completely to defending against an Iranian threat, or a threat coming from Iranian-backed militia. Where does that leave ISIS and Al-Qaeda in Iraq? leaves the door wide open for them to start to reconstitute themselves, get their strength, get their capabilities back to the point where they do pose a greater threat to our troops and to our national security. Having foresight as commander-in-chief is essential. You do not someone who's just saying, I'm gonna take a shoot from the hip approach, we'll go and do this, we'll go and do that, and not understand what the serious ramifications of that will be. That's the difference between Trump and me. That's the difference between a lot of the other candidates and what I bring.
We have time for one final question.
Yes, sir. Yep. Microphone's coming your way.
Hi there, Tulsi.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being with us today. So this is my first event with you. I'm sorry if this is something that's been covered a lot in the past, but can you talk a little bit more about your vote in the impeachment and what you think about the Senate's acquittal of President Trump last week?
Sure, thank you. I've warned for a long time about two potential outcomes of this impeachment process. Number one is that because of this hyper-partisan environment in Washington, that it would only further divide an already divided country. And secondly, that because of how hyper-partisan it is, I think most people looked at the process and could have told you that the outcome would be exactly what it was. That the Senate would not vote to remove him from office, and that Trump would stand there with a headline saying Trump acquitted, saying, see, I didn't do anything wrong. And therefore, excuse me, thank you, let me finish. Therefore, being able to put himself in a position where he has increased the likelihood of his own reelection. Trump has a higher approval rating now than he has at any time during his presidency. So what I warned about, unfortunately, has exactly played out to be true. So I took the action that I took to vote present, to take a stand for the center, while also introducing a censure resolution that would have been more likely to gain bipartisan support, and that was more expansive in including Trump's wrongdoing, including some of the things we've talked about with regards to Syria, and with regards to Iran and others, that Congress really should have considered to hold him to account, to send a message to him and any other future president that there will be accountability. Where we sit today, the choice is yours as voters to remove him from office in November of this year so that we can come together as a country and get our country back.
First of all, it's a pleasure to meet you and to listen to you tonight. I first became aware of you at the CNN debate that you were part of. In the past, I've worked as a TV news journalist. I'm not here in that capacity tonight. I'm here as a voter. But as a journalist, I have to say that CNN and the other mainstream media, but particularly CNN, are guilty of the most egregious kind of bias towards you, but also the most abysmal journalistic malpractice in terms of not allowing your message to get out to people. And I hope that, certainly hoping for the best tomorrow, but if it's not, I hope you just keep fighting and keep going.
I really appreciate that. And I just want to make sure that, as a couple of you have raised this issue tonight, that this is about something much bigger than me. It is the voters of New Hampshire and the voters of this country who have lost because of this. Because I think we as a nation want to make sure that as voters we have all of the information necessary to make an informed decision on Election Day. And CNN's decision to extend an invitation to many of the other candidates, including those who are polling lower than I am here in New Hampshire, but to exclude my voice and our voices, has done a disservice to all of you. That's what we need to correct. And so what we do now, I can't control what CNN does or doesn't do. They wouldn't even return our calls when we're asking them, hey, what happened? They wouldn't do it either. We've asked Fox News to give us a town hall, and they wouldn't do it either. Regardless, here's what we will do. And I want to leave tonight making sure that we understand that even as there are obstacles, there is unfairness, it seems like the odds may be set against the voices of the American people, we can never, ever, ever forget, ever, that it is our voice that holds the most power. Indeed, it is our voice and only our voice that has the power to change, to overcome these obstacles that are placed before us, to make sure that our voices are heard at the ballot box and every day thereafter, that this government, our democratic republic, belongs to us. And we are taking a stand. We are taking a stand to ensure that our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we are taking a stand because you're being very rude to people here. You are giving people... Thank you very much. There's not a tough question there. What's your question, sir? What's your question? What about the council?
What is your relationship with them? What is your relationship?
I have none.
Thank you. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Have a great night. Aloha always, right? Nothing but love. I'm really not a very, I'm kind of like a super low drama person, so this kind of stuff is always interesting to me. I'm sorry, we're out of time here tonight. I appreciate you. I know your questions are always good. No, I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. I'm really sorry. We don't have a lot of time. We have limited time here, and what I hope is that as you leave here tonight, you can join me and help me in what we're doing for the rest of the evening today and as we get into tomorrow in continuing to get our message out there. I invite you to stand with me to bring about this positive change that goes beyond left versus right, Democrats versus Republicans, and is really rooted in bringing about the best change for all of us as Americans, for all of us as a nation. We can make that impact. We can send that message. If you're leaving here tonight committed that you are a voter, you are a supporter, please bring 5 people with you to the polls tomorrow. 10 even better. And if you are still thinking this through, if you are still undecided, then I ask you to continue to give me a harder look and share the conversation that we had here tonight with others. So that those who may not have been able to come to a town hall or those who may still have some questions in their mind, we can get those questions answered so they can make that informed vote tomorrow. No matter what, let's make sure the United States of America hears New Hampshire's voice tomorrow, loud and clear, that we stand united as Americans for our country, for each other, and for our future. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Hold on one second. Let me tell you what's gonna happen next. I've got to step back. I'm gonna talk to the press for a minute. I'm gonna stick around. We can take some pictures, or if you want to just come up and say hello, we can do that. We're gonna try to form 2 lines on both sides of the room, and then we'll leave the middle aisle open for people to exit. I will be right back in about 5 minutes, and we'll get lined up. Thank you so much.
Yep. Yeah.